What's up, friends? Graham here from the recordingrevolution.com, and welcome to my home studio tour for 2017. So I'm about to show you everything in my studio, all my gear, how it's hooked up, what the room looks like, where things are placed, why I use what I use. But before I go in depth, I want to give you a little gift. If you are in the market for a piece of gear or you're looking to set up your own home studio for the first time, and you are like me when I got started and you're confused by the millions of choices and the endless debate on the black holes of internet forums out there telling you what you need to buy, I wanted to make it simple for you, and I've put together my own home studio gear guide with recommendations for microphones, for audio interfaces, for monitors, for even DAWs, like software to use, and then even like complete packages of get this whole setup is a good setup to go together. And what I've done is put it all together with links to the gear, what the prices are, and set up for different price ranges, different budgets. So I don't know what you can afford to spend, but I have recommendations for your budget. No matter where you're at, no matter if you're a beginner or you're just looking to upgrade. And I put it all together in a simple downloadable PDF as my gift to you. Just go to studiogearguide.com and download it for free. I'll put the link below the video, but I wanted to make sure you got that before we jump into all the cool stuff inside the studio. So studiogearguide.com, get my home studio gear guide for every budget. It'll help you out. Now, let's jump into the home studio. All right, so here is the studio coming from the inside door. It's a long rectangle going down that way to the mix position. And there's outside door. And back here, got two closets. I'll show you all that in a second. But just so you get an idea of the space, it's one long rectangle. That's all it is. It's like 20 feet long-ish by 10 feet wide. This was built out in a garage. So we took, like there's a 3-car garage and there's 1-car garage section of it we walled off. So all these walls, this wall did not exist. It was framed out. Down there is where the garage door should be. Let it focus for a second. And that was all walled off. So that's the outside front. It would have gone up and over. We framed out a wall alongside the block wall of the garage door. This would have been the actual door going out of the garage. And then what we did was we had a wall framed out back here, if it'll focus as well, that we basically turned into closet space. So like, let's see here, got a bunch of junk in there, whether it's cases, some shelving of like microphone cases, tambourines, random boxes, my water softener, because my friends back here is all kinds of other stuff, hot water heater, water softener. This is stuff that was just in the back of my garage, so we had to cover this junk, still have it be operable, but what we did is just sort of turned this into some closet space, which is great because everyone's got stuff in their studio and people want to know, how do you keep it clean? Well, you shove it in a closet. So imagine just taking a car garage that's really big enough for one car and walling it all out for the studio. So that's basically the idea here. Now I'm going to go through everything, all my gear and all the setups, but let's take a look at just, you know, I've changed it over the years. Right now I've got 2 leather chairs sort of in client position. When I'm mixing stuff, and I've got friends here, they hang out. Usually I'm mixing remotely, so I don't have any clients interaction while I mix, which I kind of prefer because I like to experiment. But that's where they hang. If they do come when I'm making a record, or if I'm recording my band and we're all listening to stuff, they chill there. This is my chair. I had the crappiest chair from IKEA forever. This is nice leather chair from West Elm that's much more comfortable. Really enjoy that. So furniture is important. I used to have a sofa in here. We just changed up the flow. Shelf. This is both practical and for fun. I like to display some of the records I enjoy being on. These are some of my band's records. Got some microphone cases up there, so it's also strategic to keep microphones. Everything from a blue Spark that I use a lot on a couple records. It's in the box right now because I haven't used it much this year, but used it the last couple years. couple of Kel microphones, my trusty, I think this is my Behringer B1 is in here. My very first microphone, I still use that. Books, a lot of business books, books on investing. I like learning how to grow money and grow businesses, and so I dork out over that. And also got my audio books here, some really good selections. If it will focus. Mixing Secrets in the Small Studio by Mike Sr. There we go. Mike is a great guy. He's worked for Sound on Sound for years. He's brilliant. Mixing Secrets for the Small Studio is fantastic. Zen and the Art of Mixing is up here, right on top of a tax book by Mixer Man. A fantastic read. He's brilliant when it comes to understanding mixing. Classic textbook for audio school modern recording techniques, although it's no longer modern. That 5th edition is super old now. My buddy Kevin Ward wrote Pro Tools, the Mixer's Toolkit. He wrote it with Nathan Adam, both really good friends. It's a Pro Tools book, and it's an outdated book on version-wise, but it's a fantastic mixing book, by the way. Just, it's brilliant. Got some C.S. Lewis in here. Got some Tim Keller, all kinds of stuff. So we've got my spiritual books. I got some business books. It's a kind of a collection of things that I'm interested in, but it's also practical for holding gear. Okay, back here, got this out of the way. This is sort of where I'll use this to track vocals. So this is the portable vocal booth from Editor's Keys, and Mark Brown is a great friend over at Editor's Keys in the UK, and they make all kinds of stuff, including gear stuff, and literally, you know, a lot of people make these sort of reflection filter type things, but I've used these and I've not used these. These are really, really helpful. I'll pull this in the middle of my room and record vocals in it. Right now, if you're wondering, the microphone in it is a Neumann TLM 120? 102. TLM 102. I just played with this the last few months. I actually recorded my record. I did all my vocals on the most recent record I did, Never Satisfied. I did all my vocals through that. It was a very interesting microphone. I did a vocal mic shootout. You can check out that video. And that was one of the 4. And not everybody liked it. It got a lot of votes, but not everybody liked it. And I like it as another example of how to represent my voice. So let's see if we can get this to focus. So yeah, I'll pretty much, whatever mic I'm using for my vocals on recording is usually up there. I don't track a lot of people in here anymore other than my own band, and I'm the singer for my band. So, you know, whatever is the soup du jour, I'll have in that thing. And I'll literally, people ask on Facebook and Twitter, where do I record vocals? Right here. I'll put it like right here in the middle of the room, right on this rug, and I'll stand, you know, so I'm like right close to my mixing position, right next to here, pretty much in the dead center of my room. That's where I'll put the microphone, and I'll record vocals right there. Gets me away from the walls, and it minimizes reflections. So I've got hardwood in the studio, but I have a giant rug to help minimize reflections as well and deaden the space. And so I'll just get right in the center. That's where I'll record vocals. And other people ask too, I do track drums in here multiple times. I just have to move these chairs. Again, it's a small space, so I gotta move those chairs, track drums. All right, guitar amps. Then move over to the studio stuff. I got a Bugera Vintage 5, cheap little tube amp. This thing sounds amazing because you can reduce the wattage. You can watt it down so that you can crank up the gain on this and saturate the tube so it sounds good without it being loud. It's a great secret little weapon in the studio. There's my lovely Vox AC15. And you know what, friends? Neither of these get played anymore because of that orange thing, which I'll show you in a minute. Guitar-wise, so here's a bass. This is just a cheap Squier Jaguar bass that I have had for years, and you've seen me use it in videos. I think I paid $169 for it. And it's a shorter length neck, shorter scale. I like it a lot. It's got a P-bass pickup and a Fender Jazz pickup in it, so you got both. I mean, you can't beat it. It sounds great. I'm not an official bass player, but I've learned to really get some great tones out of it, and I love it, and I've used it on all my records in the last 4 or 5 years. Super awesome. This is a new addition to the studio. Shout out to one of my good buddies, Pete Woj, and he runs mixbetternow.com. Good friend, student of mine for years, just a great guy. He edits the podcast that I do with Joe Gilder, the Simply Recording podcast. And he was so irritated that I was playing the same telly forever that he just sent me this. It's a standard Mexican, updated pickups, updated pickguard, updated tuners. I've been playing this a lot at church in my band, and it sounds amazing. So Pete, you're the man. That was kind of a nice gift. And mostly because he's a guitar guy. He was so irritated that I don't change guitars very often, as you'll know. But actually, since my last video, this has been a big change. Other big change is this guy. This is my latest gift to myself. This is a Martin GPC, Grand Performance, and it is the 35E. And this thing is amazing. This is the most expensive guitar I've ever owned, and it plays and sounds amazing. Sorry for the focusing. Sounds incredible. I love Martins. I have 2 Martins now. I've had the DC X1E, I think that's what it is, forever. That was like their baseline Dreadnought acoustic electric. This one is just even more of a dream to play. Just in terms of playability, tone, both plugged in and unplugged. It's got the Fishman sort of Oral VT or whatever it's called pickup inside. Pretty amazing. This is the newest addition to the studio. I don't usually spend a lot on instruments. This was a splurge. It really is beautiful. I really, really enjoyed playing that. Can't wait to record it. I've only played it live, and it sounds really good. All right, on to the studio gear. This desk is an Argosy console desk. These guys are amazing. They make custom desks, so they have like different setups you can use. So I went on their site and talked to them, and you can create whatever configuration makes sense for your desk. I wanted 2 racks, one on the left and the right. They have different heights of the racks. This was more of like a lower angle than other ones. They have sidecars. They did all kinds of varieties, and so you pick the configuration you want, and they ship you those components, and you just assemble it together. And it's a heavy beast. So it's very solid. The nicest desk I've ever owned. I had cheap desks for years, my friends. Do not be afraid. I had desks that I bought from IKEA that I turned into a studio. I had cheap desks from Musician's Friend. I had made my own desks by just combining random stuff together. I finally got this thing, and it just is a lot cleaner, a lot more solid. It's got just sort of the leather armrest, which just makes you feel important, and that's really important. All right, so let's see, what do I got here? On the left of the rack, we've got sort of the main things, if it will focus. All right, so first thing people want to know about is this thing. This is an ART, they call it a patch bay, but it really is just XLR connections on the front and the back, because all my cabling is underneath this desk. I only wanted to do it once, and I don't want to get underneath it ever again. So I basically can plug any microphone into any one of these 16 inputs, and it goes straight out the back. All it is just an XLR cable that's really short, basically, built into a box. It's not active, it's beautiful. So then I have cables underneath it, so, you know, all these inputs run into different stuff. Now, what do they run into? Well, inputs 1 and 2 run, actually, no, inputs 1, yeah, just 1. 1 runs all the way into this, a Focusrite ISA 220, okay? It's an old channel strip. They don't make this version anymore, but it's a beautiful Focusrite preamp that has an EQ and a compressor and a de-esser built in. Transformer based, just a great sounding Focusrite pre, a lot more colored than a lot of like my stock pre's, a little more saturation. So I plug in a cable here, and I've just run a cable from the back there, XLR, into here. So it's just like an extended cable. So it's like I'm just plugging a cable directly into the back of this. Then the line output of that goes into my interface, into input 1. So you can see that the line light is lit up. Okay, so this interface is a Focusrite Clarett. So this is the biggest change since the last studio video. I've used Focusrite interfaces for years. I had the Liquid Sapphire 56, love it. I had the Sapphire Pro 40, love it. This is just the latest version of all of that. This is the Clarett range, basically all new preamps, all new converters. It's just, and it's a Thunderbolt interface. So there's a lot of reasons why I bought this. It's 8 mic pre's. with the air switch, which changes the circuitry inside the preamp analog, and it sort of has the air preamp, which is sort of like mimics the ISA preamp. It sort of mimics the blue guy over there. It adds some nice, beautiful top end. It's nice to have basically two different sounding preamps in one box for all 8 inputs. So it sounds great, more headroom on the converters than the previous model. And what's great now is it's not a FireWire interface anymore, it is Thunderbolt. And Thunderbolt has such lower latency. And Thunderbolt is where audio interfaces are going as of this taping. I mean, it's a much better connection, so you can record without any latency. You can even record through plugins. The lowest this latency has gotten is just over 1 millisecond, like 1.2, 1.3 milliseconds. You'll have to check out the Focusrite website. You can get really low latency, almost like if you had Pro Tools HD rig with a PCI card. So it's great that that type of low latency is available just by plugging in Thunderbolt. So that's my interface. It sounds great, and it's super affordable. This is one of the best buys out there, honestly, for what it is and it's for the price range it is and what it sounds like. It hangs with the Apogee ensembles, the Apollo. So really beautiful sounding interface. This is the Focusrite Octopre Dynamic, the Mark II Dynamic. So it's 8 more pre's. These are the same pre's as that are in the Sapphire range, and they each have a compressor on them. And this I've got going ADAT into the back of this. So it's that little optical cable. One cable gives me 8 more mic pre's. So I have 16 pre's right here in these 2 devices. And these 4 have compressors, simple 1-knob compressor. I use these for drums all the time. And so these are hardwired into these preamps. So input 9 through 16 are hardwired into the back of this. So if I want to plug into channel 1 of the Octopre for some drums, put my snare drum in there, I just plug my mic, snare drum mic on 9. And it's hardwired to there. Just XLR cable, that's all it is underneath. So very, very nice. I love it when I need lots of mics for a drum kit. Other than that, I don't ever need to use it. This is the Central Station from PreSonus, and that is monitor management. So it allows me to hook up I got 2 different monitors, and it allows me to switch between them. It also gives me a mute switch, a dim switch, and a mono button. Very, very helpful for managing all that stuff. It has a controller over here, sort of remote control, and that's just plugged hardwired in, so then I can just reach with my right hand and control the same things that are on that box. I don't have to reach up. It even has talkback built into it, but I don't have a control room tracking room separate from the control room, so I never use that. But I'll flip between my main monitors, which are on A, and my other monitor, which is on B, which is this guy. I'll show you that in a minute. And then I use the dim switch, because I always mix at 2 different volumes, normal volume and quiet, normal volume and quiet. And then my mono button is right there as well. And that's how when I mix in mono, I flip that button. And I can flip it in and out. Very, very easy. Super, super helpful. I love that box. This is the Avid Artist mix. I think this is new since the last video. This is a controller, a mix controller for Pro Tools. You can use it for any DAW. It's motorized faders. So I mix on this. It's like being on a console, which is great. It's got touch-sensitive faders, so it's great for automation. I use it even before automation. I use it to set up my mix when I'm just doing my 20-minute mix, 30-minute mix, hour-long mix, or I'm just playing with volume. I just play on this guy, and you can just bank through, and it has all the names of the channels pop up here, so you know what you're mixing. And I'll just feel the mix out. I'll put up all the faders. I'll mess with drums. I'll just sort of like go for it and get the snare where I want, and I can touch multiple things at once. And it's just great for feeling out the mix at the beginning, and then I use this for writing automation, volume automation and stuff later on in the mix. It's basically a giant mouse. And to be honest, guys, I made a living doing mixing for almost 10 years, over 10 years before I even had one of these things. So not necessary, just a lot more fun and a lot easier, more control. Okay, over here on the right, other thing. So if this is my pre, it's like my only external pre I use these days because it's a channel strip and it sounds great. I'll put like lead vocals through this. That's input 1. This is input 2, and this is the Avid 11 Rack. I've done a review of this. This is where I get all my guitar amp tones and bass tones. I plug in direct to this. The amp models in this sound amazing to me, in my opinion. I have all the knobs so I can tweak it like an amp. I can bank over to different cabinets. I love that because that changes the tone. I can choose different microphones on the cabinet, which I love that. Like I'll put a Royer ribbon on like a 212 on a Vox and it sounds cool or whatever.
And then it even has stomp boxes. It's all the stuff that you see in a lot of like amp sim software, but it's in a box, which means all the CPU is freed up on your computer. You do it all here on the box, and it's very tactical. So I feel like I'm playing with an amp, and it's the impedance changes based on the guitar you plug in, which is amazing. So it feels, if you play with humbuckers, it feels more like humbuckers. If you play with single coils, it reacts the way an amp would react to single coils. Very, very cool. Sounds very good. I have two of these. One that's permanently here, it's mounted, and one in my portable rig that I play live. I take it out Sundays when I play electric guitar at church. I have one of these permanently in a mobile rack. I don't even use an amp at church anymore. Just play into that. And I plug into that, and people want to know, how's that hooked up? Well, I don't use the digital hookup on this. I just use the analog hookup. So it's literally a line output, a TRS output, or XLR to TRS. It's just a line level cable, and the out of that, the mono out, or the left out, plugged into input 2 here. It's kind of blurry. And so what that does is, come on guys, what that does is it allows you to treat it like a real amp. I get the tone right there. I run it through my interface, so it comes in the DAW as like an audio signal. Just the way I want it. I don't want it to be an audio signal where I can change the amp sound later. I want it to be an audio signal with the printed sound on it like a real amp, because I want to commit to a sound on recording day and move on with my life. For MIDI, I've got this little M-Audio Axiom Air Mini. It's a little USB controller. I'm not a keyboard player, so I can't do much, so just 2 octaves is fine for me. I can like hack out chords, play pads, play some mini organ parts, some simple piano parts, and then fix it in Pro Tools later, because that's the extent of my piano knowledge. These are, yes, my KRK Rokit 6s. These were a change from the last video, but actually this is actually going back home for me. I mixed on KRK Rokit 5s for years. The last video, I think I had some PreSonus monitors. 2 reasons I switched, because people asked me that on social media, why did I switch? One is that the other monitors were 8-inch monitors, and I felt that they were just too big for this room. So I tried them out for a couple years and decided it's too big. Then why switch back? So that's why I switched back to smaller speakers. Why the KRKs? Because you know what? I'm really familiar with these. I know these really, really well. They're great sounding speakers. And a lot of other smart people agree. My buddy Jakir King mixes records on the Rokit 5s. I've seen him in his home studio, and it's for real. They sound great. I've had great success with them. I think you can get great results on all kinds of monitors. I don't really obsess over monitors. These sound great to me. And a question I got on social media was, do I use a subwoofer? Because these are only 6-inch monitors. They give me decent low end, but not as much low end response as the 8-inch. And no, the answer is no. I don't use any subwoofer. I just mix on these guys. And how do I get the low end right? Well, I don't always get it right, but I've gotten used to these speakers. I know I reference mixes. I use some EQ analysis with something like Ozone. I look at sort of the EQ curve of good mixes and where's the low end compared to mine. It gives me a visual in case I'm missing something. And then good old-fashioned trying different things, guys. Good old-fashioned taking it out and just trial and error, listening to it and going, you know what? The low end is a little off, but usually doesn't take long to get that. Plus, there's a really good trick that Jakir taught me, the low-end mix trick. I have a whole video on that, so search for the low-end mix trick, and that's very, very helpful. All right, so the other monitor is this guy, which they no longer make anymore, the Behringer Behritone. It was a $99 speaker, a mono speaker, very crappy mid-rangey sounding speaker, but that's exactly why I bought it, because it sort of reminds me of the Auratones. It gives you an idea of what your mix will sound like on other systems. It reduces a lot of the low end, you lose a lot of the top end. It's very much exposes the mid-range. This is a secret weapon, because with the mid-range exposed, I notice things in the guitars and the vocals that would be harsh that I wouldn't notice otherwise. I want to make sure the kick drum sounds great on these, because if it only sounds good on bigger speakers but not on this, then it's not mixed right. So I want the kick drum to kick butt on this. I want the vocals to cut through nicely on this, no harshness on this. If this is harsh, I go back to the drawing board and figure out what the harshness is. So that I switch between my regular speakers and that using the PreSonus. What computer I'm using a Mac. You can't see it. It's a Mac Mini server. It's underneath. And it is a 6-year-old computer. It's a 2011 Mac Mini server. I'll put the specs of it on the screen here. I'm pretty sure it's a 2 gigahertz quad-core i7 processor Only 8 gigs of RAM. I think I can go up to 16 on this. I probably should. And it's got 2 internal hard drives instead of the optical drive. So I have a system drive inside, and then a audio drive that I record to. And it's got Thunderbolt. But again, it's 2011 Mac Mini. So not very beastly. But man, I use it day in and day out for mixing records, recording records, shooting video, editing video, running my business. It's been a beast of a computer, and it's still hanging in there. It's not the nicest, newest, but I hate to upgrade if I don't need to. I hate spending money that's not really needed. If it doesn't make my life better, I won't spend the money. So I'm still rocking that Mac. And just a little tip, when I buy Macs, I buy them refurbished. I never buy them new. Always buy them refurbished. I save a lot of money on that. This is just sort of the Thunderbolt display from a couple years ago, maybe 3-4 years ago. So it just connects to my Mac Mini underneath. It's nice. It's got Thunderbolt and USB ports in the back. I got a backup drive there. And that's pretty much it for the technical stuff on the system. Everything's just wired underneath. It's just plugged in the way you described, right? Pretty simple setup. Basically an interface, a couple extra pre's. If I need to do drums, I got a channel strip if I want to have EQ and compression on the way in, my amp modeling box, keyboard controller, mix controller. I use a wireless keyboard, and I use the Magic Pad. Everybody I know in every studio I've ever worked in uses roller balls. I cannot for the life of me use them. I'm inept at that. Acoustic treatment, I've got 2 kind of sets. I think these are Primacoustic. Correct me if I'm wrong. All of you that are smarter than me, it's been a couple years, I forget. I think it's the London 12 kit. Those are my angles of first reflection. On the right, bass trap. Those are immediately behind this monitor. Bass trap to the left of the mixing position. And then back there, I've got just some panels left over from my Auralex kit, because I had my previous studios all done in Auralex. And that's to get some of the slap back behind me while I mix, and on those doors. Fortunately, over here, a lot of the books just absorb a lot of stuff. Got the rug on the bottom to absorb a lot of stuff, and then these chairs absorb stuff. It's pretty dead in here for the most part in my mixing position. At that end of the room, not quite as dead, but where I sit, it really is a good spot. And we've tuned it pretty well. It's not perfect. I definitely don't want you to think it's perfect, guys. I still have a problem in the low mids in here, so I'm still working on it. But my positioning is pretty darn good, and I've gotten things to translate pretty well, in my opinion. As far as plugins go, it doesn't take me forever to I don't want to scroll through a menu on a camera. You see it in other videos, but I mostly mix. I do a lot with the Waves SSL channel strip. It's kind of like my meat and potatoes, compression and EQ. I use a lot of Steven Slate stuff. I really like his virtual tape machine, the virtual console. I love his free plugin, Revival. It's a great saturation plugin. And I'll use some of his EQs, like the Custom Series EQ and the Custom Lift, which is pretty cool. I'm trying to think. Also, I'll use Ozone for EQ matching or just looking at frequencies. It's very helpful sometimes. A lot of my Dueling Mixes members, you've seen me do that in some mixes lately, where I'll look at a reference track through it and sort of see what is the EQ curve of the reference. And so I can visually see what's different from mine when I can't audibly hear any more differences. I got it close, but not close enough. So got that. Also, I'll use stuff from Massey. He's got some free plugins. His tape head is really good. The Massey Limiter, the L2007 is really good. I'll use the stock Pro Tools EQ, 1176 compressor. I'll use the Waves CLA 1176, CLA 2A, CLA 3A. I'll use the Greg Wells Mixcentric is a really cool plugin on the mix bus. So all kinds of, mostly some Waves and Slate stuff. I got Sound Toys. Echo Boy is a really great sounding delay because it's very analog sounding. So I'll use a lot of that. But most everything's done in Pro Tools. I'm still in Pro Tools version 12 right now, 12.5 I think as of this taping. And I'll do mastering in Studio One sometimes. I haven't upgraded that version yet, but I've got pretty much every DAW. I have Logic, Studio One, GarageBand, Ableton. Those are the ones I've used for sure. Reason, I did a record in Reason. I did it in Reason 8 a couple years ago. Microphones, people want to see microphones. So like I said, I've got the Neumann. I've got a couple of Rode NT1As. I've got some Kel microphones, SM57s from Shure. Got a a Beta 52 for the kick drum. I've got a couple of Behringer mics, the B1 and the B2 Pro. I've got, what else do I got? Some of these MXL drum cubes or mixed cube, drum cube microphones that I use on overheads and vocals for a couple records. They're $69 microphones. The Blue Spark, which is a fantastic microphone. Yeah, those are the kind of the go-tos that I've been using these days on pretty much everything. So friends, that's my humble home studio. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've seen a better glimpse of what I work with and why I work with it. And I hope you've seen a couple things. One, that every studio is different, and that's what I love about it. Even my home studio has changed over the years. But at the end of the day, my setup is a lot like your setup. There's a computer, there's an interface, there's some microphones plugged into the interface. There's some software that I'm recording into, and it's just a room that I've built out. It's just a small bedroom-sized room. I don't have separate rooms. I don't have anything crazy, and it gets the job done. Is it perfect? No. Is my sound in here perfect? No. Would I change some things? Yeah, I'm always tweaking and trying to make it better, but it gets the job done. And at the end of the day, I just want to get the job done and move on with my life. I want to make a record. I want to mix somebody's record. I want to shoot a tutorial for you. I just want to get it done. It doesn't have to be perfect. I want to do good work and move on, because that's how I get better. So hopefully it's helped you out. Final reminder though, if you missed it at the beginning of the video, I have put together a home studio gear guide for you. If you were looking for my recommendations on stuff, on what microphones to buy, what audio interface to buy, what software to use, everything at different price points, at the very least to show you what gear I would recommend if I were in your shoes on your budget, and give you some suggestions, different options at every price point. And it's a simple download. Just go to studiogearguide.com. Put the link here below the video, studiogearguide.com. You can download it and see where your budget is and find my personal recommendations for right now for what to get, including complete setups. So you can just look for microphones I recommend, or audio interfaces, or monitors, or headphones. Or if you want a whole setup, at the very end, I've got complete studio setups based off of a couple different budgets. So check that out as my gift to you. I think it'll help you out as you're making decisions. I know there's an endless list of opinions out there of what gear is good. I can't mention everything in the gear guide, so I just pick the things that I think are going to be great options for you, and things that I actually use, and things that I actually recommend to my friends who are trying to do great work. So go to studiogearguide.com, check it out as my gift to you. Thanks for watching my tour. Thanks for subscribing to the videos if they're helping you out. I can't wait to share some more content with you as the months tick on, but in the meantime, have fun, have a great week, make some great music, and I will see you on another video soon. Take care.